everyone, this is Rizwan, and today I'd like to review Megalopolis. So, this is, of course, a very controversial movie that has come out, and it's been talked about as like the worst movie. It's such a massive flop, and while I understand all that, I actually thought the movie was not as bad as I expected. I expected it to be much worse, but since I kind of follow the works of like David Lynch and films from the silent era, a lot of films, I kind of get what Francis Ford Coppola was trying to do. And I don't think he succeeds fully, for sure. I think there's definitely a lot of problems with the movie, and we'll get to that. But overall, I think the fact that he was able to put together these really interesting montages and these visual ideas, the vision behind it was actually really really good. Like only a director who has a very strong vision, has a very strong determination to make something very grand and expansive could make something like that. Just not just anyone who is like very pretentious could make a film like this. It takes someone who really has the passion to tell a story like this to actually put it together. And I think yeah, it's definitely something that's very interesting. Like first and foremost, what I really liked about the movie is the editing in the montage sequences where he puts these split screen effects to show different things going on, different things happening, and there's these dream sequences where there's different symbolism that is presented. I thought that those things were very interesting. And I thought the performances, yes, this is something that's also very controversial, and people said, oh, the acting is so horrible. None of them knew what they were doing. And when I watched the film, I was like, I get what the style this is actually going for. It's definitely not for everyone, but I think what the actors were given to do, like Aubrey Plaza, Shia Labeouf, the woman who's playing Julia, Giancarlo Esposito, and of course Adam Driver. I think in terms of the character that they were given in the context of the whole film, I think they did a really really good job. I think they really understood what their characters were meant to do, because this movie is not a realistic movie at all. It's a very surreal, very weird type of movie that is it's not meant to be a realistic movie, right? So in terms of that, I think they did a good job in what they were trying to do. And another thing that I really like, there's this one moment where they show the symbols in a very interesting way, right? The liberty is falling down, justice is falling down. So they show that by having these human actors. They have these, these the equal thing, equality thing, and they're those statues, right? They're played by human actors, and when they fall down, it's so beautifully shown with the CGI, with how they fall. Like they could just use CGI and show things breaking down, but instead they used these human actors falling down like this, and there's this very nuanced movement to show that there's that human element to it, and it shows that these are not just statues; these are representations of human beings and the human thought. I thought that was really beautiful, and there's many instances in the movie where those kinds of things are shown, and I think that those are definitely really good. Um, and there's a lot of symbolism throughout. There's this one moment where we see Giancarlo Esposito. He's the mayor of the town. The character of Julia, his daughter, walks into his office, and his table is like this. It's slanted, and he's going through this quicksand, and it's not realistic at all, right? But it's a symbol. It symbolizes how this guy is like. Of course, there's many different interpretations to be had, but it kind of shows how he's kind of full of himself and he's going through this quicksand where he's not progressing. He's a old school guy who's not coming with the times. He's not looking forward for the future, right? And because of that, he's going into the quicksand. Like these kinds of symbolisms that I thought were really good. Really, like only a director who knows the history of cinema, history of arts, can bring up and put these kinds of things in a film. So I thought that was really good, really beautiful. Um, like it's better than just presenting something that's totally realistic and taking place in a very realistic setting. I thought these kinds of symbolism type of films, it makes it more cerebral, you know. It gives you a lot to think about. Um, it it just makes you think about more um, subconscious things as opposed to something that's just literal. I think literal realistic films also have their place, for sure. But these kinds of films also, I believe, have their place. And there's a lot of things that could be expressed when you don't have to follow all these rules in cinema. Um, Now, coming to the bad parts of this movie, things that I thought were really not very well done. I think the idea that is trying to be expressed through the Caesar character, I thought could have been much better. Even by the end of the movie, I had no real idea of what is being represented or what his ideology is, other than he's this progressive humanist guy who wants to um, he wants to give a future to his children, but it's not clear what exactly his vision is. Maybe if I watch the film more, like one more time, or even a third time, you know, I might finally get it. But right now, the first time, I feel like um, even though I expressed all these stuff about the symbolism as a positive, I also think this movie has a problem of being really shallow. It thinks that it's very deep, but it's not really saying anything. And the same thing with the mayor. It's like just for the sake of putting a character that opposes this visionary architect, they put this guy and we don't really know what these guys really represent other than this guy is opposing the future. And then this Shia LaBeouf character is just so comically evil, and we still don't know what exactly is he opposing. Like, what exactly is the thing that he's trying to accomplish, other than he like they later show him as like becoming a dictator, and I'm like, okay, what is being represented? What is going on? And yeah, another thing that I really didn't like is the second half of this movie. The whole second half I felt was very very messy. I think Francis Ford Coppola wrote a script a long time ago in like the 80s, 70s. And once he got to filming it, I think a lot of things were changed. And by the time he filmed this version, I think a lot of ideas that were there were cut down so that he could film and put it out right now. And a lot of things got lost in translation as to what I can gather, what it seems like to me, right? I'm pretty sure he had an amazing script, amazing idea back in the day when he wrote the original script. And then as time went on, a lot of things changed, the culture changed, and of course, apparently 9/11 happened. And because of that, he had to scrap the project and he had to rewrite a lot of things. So I think a lot of things got sort of changed along the way, and whatever original intention that he had, I think he couldn't fully translate it into this final film. Of course, it might have to do with his age as well. He's not a young guy anymore. He's 80 years old already, and um, we don't know how much he's able to really process and direct a good movie at this day and age. The fact that he was able to make this at 80 years old is already very, very impressive. And considering he made it with his own money, it's even more crazy. Like, how many directors could you think of right now who don't rely on studio? They put their own money into it, like hundreds of millions of dollars. It's Yes, you could say he's an elite guy, he's a rich guy, but still, other people are not doing it. Other rich directors are not doing it. He's doing it. So, like, there is some kind of passion to that, and you gotta like commend a person for it. And of course, there's other allegations against him. There's other things that people have said about his this filming process, and all of those are there. Like, I don't want to get into it because I want to just review the film. Other things, of course, you could have your own conclusions. I don't want to get into it here. Just as a film, I think this is still overall quite commendable. Is it a magnum opus? For sure, absolutely not. So I'm someone who is a fan of Francis Ford Coppola's Godfather and The Godfather Part Two. I think both of these movies are like movies that I consider to be the highest of the highest films. Like the best films ever made. And this director coming back in his 80s to make this film, I did have a lot of expectations, and I did get disappointed when the early reviews were coming out, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna watch this movie. I think this movie's probably not gonna be good. So I didn't watch it when it came out. I Later on I saw more reviews, more analysis, and I realized, okay, maybe there's something there. Maybe this movie might be ahead of its time, and it is why people are criticizing it. Like, they don't really get what is being expressed. They don't really get the style. They're not used to this style, and because of that, they oppose it. And funnily enough, that's also what this movie is talking about. Like, when people don't get something, they don't understand fully what something is, they oppose it and they really try to take it down. And yeah, that's definitely an aspect that is there all throughout history. Um, and the way this film is as well, they're trying to show Rome, but in a modern setting. So that's also very interesting. Like, this movie is not really taking place in the future exactly. Maybe it is. Maybe it is, right? They say it's New Rome and there's some futuristic stuff, but mostly it's present stuff. Like, it's not. We don't know what timeline it is. So I think what Francis is trying to do with the movie, with the setting, is that he's trying to make it timeless. Like, the story could happen at any time, and that is why he's combining the historical stuff like the gladiator battles and the chariot race, and also the modern future stuff, the buildings, the cars, and this architect who's trying to make this stuff with the megalon and revolutionize the city. So yeah, that was also very interesting in terms of the movie. Now, getting back to the negatives, I really did not like the cinematography in a lot of places. I thought the outdoor cinematography for the most part was very good, and when there are some grand set pieces, some parts of it were really, really amazing. But for the most part, like whenever it's indoors, I did not really like the cinematography. I was very disappointed, because this was meant to be a large format epic film, but the for cinematography for some reason was not very good, and I was surprised that the cinematographer is the same guy who like shot The Master, the Paul Thomas Anderson film that it's one of the best looking films. So I was very surprised that he came in and made this film. And maybe that's also due to the green screen usage and the fact that Francis Ford Coppola is in his 80s, so he doesn't have the same vision as he had back in the day. So we don't know. Maybe it's also the fact that he has so much money. He just put it all across. He had no naysayers. You know, whenever there are naysayers, he just fires them. Like maybe that's part of the reason why the movie doesn't look as good as it could be. And of course, the CGI was really all over the place. Like sometimes the CGI was really good. Sometimes the CGI was like just really baffling. So it's like the visuals could have been a lot better for this type of epic story. I think it could have really elevated this material to a level where at least people would be taking it a little more seriously. Um, a lot of the thing that I don't really like with modern movies is a lot of it is shot on large format cameras, Alexa 65s, and other large format cameras. But I feel like not every story needs to have that large format. I know this is an epic movie, so it needs a large format, but still, the there's a tendency with a lot of large format cameras and the lensing, the picture quality, the final output with the way it looks that I find is just seen in every movie and it gets really tiring. It's the shallow depth of field, the you can see everything and everything is very clear, and I feel like it's not the look that every movie needs. You know, not every movie needs to have that large sense of scale where you see everything in the picture. You don't need every movie to have that shallow depth of field. Um, you don't need every movie to have the the IMAX aspect ratio. Like all of this, it's not necessary. You know, um, like I'm really considering maybe if this movie had a different look, not this yellow shallow depth of field look, and instead it had a more normal look, or um, instead use anamorphic lenses, or even shoot this movie on film, you know, celluloid film instead of digital. It would give a much better look, I think, for this type of style that they're going for. So yeah, a lot of choices felt very odd in this movie, unintentionally. I think maybe this movie would have might have benefited from filming in black and white. It might have benefited from filming on celluloid film, on 35 millimeter. I think it would have added to this surreal style much better because people would get into this filmic texture and see that yes, it's a film rather than this very clean image of digital, which is more in line with a more realistic film. So, you know, a lot of choices that were made were very odd in that sense. So, I think if this movie did a few things differently and did a few more rewrites, it might have actually worked. It might have still not been a box office hit, for sure, right? But at the very least, it would have been a good movie. And you know, right now we have all these Oscars coming out, so it might have been nominated for Best Picture if it did a few things much better, you know. So that's overall my takes on this movie, and yeah, I think it might have been a rant, and maybe I have to script this video a little better for the future reviews that I make. But these are all overall my thoughts on what I thought of the movie. So if you watched the movie, if you have your own thoughts, do comment down below. I'd love to read them. And I'll see you for the next video, for the next review. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.